Good evening, everybody. We are live from Observer Ranch. I am here in the big room. Looking out on the deck and out into the field area of the ranch. How are you guys doing? Before we get started, you might be noticing some pinkish, purplish crowns next to some of the chats. And then up at the top of the live chat, you should notice a thing that says top fans. This is a new thing YouTube is doing. And unlike most of the new stuff YouTube rolls out, I actually think this is cool. So this is called Top Fans, and basically it's going to track your commenting. If you do a super chat, whether or not you like the video, you guys should click the like button. And then at the end, we get to see who was the top fan and the top fans for the day. Maybe we'll keep track of this over time, and we'll see how it goes. And maybe the top fan or the top fans will get something cool at the end. I'll have to think about that more, but I'm sure we'll come up with something. Anyway, we do have our first couple of questions here. And the first question I saw, and it was right as we were getting started, it was about the micronova trigger. And the question was magnetic or dust. For those who understand what that question is getting at, I think you'd probably agree that the best phrasing of that question, thank you, Gran, you know I love the teal pears. The best phrasing of that question would probably be, is it the magnetic, the dust, or a combination of both? And we're going to start off the answers the way I just absolutely love from the bottom of my heart. I don't know. I don't know. It could be one, could be the other. But I will say this. The confluence of, what's the word I want to look for? Coincidences, coinkydinks around the micronova are pretty difficult to wrap one's head around, whether it's the signaling from NASA logos or whether it's having to explain this geologic evidence. Thank you, Undercover Bird and Jeff Grimes. Look at those teal pears. I feel myself desalinated fully. Usually happens when I'm at the ranch anyway. You're very welcome, Chris. Thank you. There are two ways, remember, that scientists know how to make a star do a little nova. We're not talking about a supernova where the star is gone. We're talking about a recurrent nova where it's a much smaller event and the star survives to potentially go nova again someday. Katie Light, thank you for the teal pear. Gotta love it. Gotta love it. The galactic current sheet, which we know to exist, which has been characterized quite well here in the Milky Way, in addition to being identified in several other galaxies. Gran, thank you again. We know it's there, we know it exists, therefore we have to have this impacting of the galactic current sheet upon our solar system in some kind of a cyclical nature. The two ways that they know how to make a nova, either you dump material onto the star or you give it a powerful magnetic kick. What is the galactic current sheet doing? It is dumping gas and neutrals and dust into the solar system. There's your material dump. And at the exact same time, it is presenting the galactic magnetic reversal, a reversal of the galactic magnetic fields. So that's both triggers delivered at the exact same time. And that's Ricky, by the way, one of the Ricky and Little Nova. You might remember the dog from the preview, the trailer of the documentary that's coming out in the fall. It's kind of hard to ignore the fact that having a micronova be part of these events, the cyclical disaster, is required because the nova level isotopes with those extremely short half-lives, they are concentrated within the disaster layers that show the magnetic pole flip, that have the abundance of fossils indicating the uptick in extinction level events, the extra volcanic ash, the paleoclimate indicators of rapid change. That's where the isotopes are found. So we know that this has to happen when this disaster cycle is happening. And it just so happens that the most likely candidate for this disaster cycle also happens to bring the two nova triggers at the exact same time to allow the sun to do this. Nah, we don't ignore that. But in terms of picking one, the other, or both, I don't know. Text Jesus, see if he asks you. Subcoder, what's up, my friend? He says, how will the micronova and pole flip affect water wells, aquifers, or underground water sources? I imagine a lot of wells are going to be destroyed. The deeper they are, the greater a chance they're going to be destroyed. Aquifers or underground sources should relatively remain for the most part. I will say this, that they will be shaken up a bit, and the waters below will come forth, whether that is just an enhancement of spring activity or things we could only hope our imagination could capture. I'm not sure. But it's safe to say that if you have a deep well that you are using now, even if it is completely on manual, like you can take it off electric, don't count on it surviving this. Thomas Gear, thank you for the support. Appreciate that. Davo, thank you for the teal pair. Really appreciate that. There's a new volcano emoji on YouTube. That's fun. Got to get you one of these t-shirts. Well, guess what? When you're pre-ordering the book, link down below, link in the last two morning news and tomorrow morning's news, you'll be at the Observer Ranch shop doing that, where you can just very easily go back to the shop from the actual pre-order book page and grab something like this. I don't know how many of these we have left, actually. This is the last of the Suspicious Observers gear before everything switched to Space Weather News. Michelle Tyler, thank you for that. Appreciate that. Fist bump, teal pair. Gotta love it. Gotta love it. Can we get a Denver sucks in the chat? Denver sucks in the chat. While we're doing that, we're going to come here. Let's see. Undercover somebody. It's cutting off the name. It's not letting me see the whole thing. Undercover somebody is currently the top fan with 1,050 XP points. Thomas G, again, it's cut off. I wonder if I can. It won't let me see any more than that. It's in second place with 1,000. Is that Chris Walla? Again, cut off, can't see. You are in third place with 525. Grand coming in at fourth, and Subcoder in fifth. This is so cool. I like this top fans thing. This is actually very awesome. Look at all the Denvers. You know what? This is what I was hoping for. I was hoping to come back from looking at the top fans and just see Denver sucks up and down the chat. Oh, that is so glorious. Oh, that is glorious. We're getting text messages. Don't do that when I'm on the live stream. I know you're watching me. I know you're watching me right now. Don't do that. They're trying to distract me from your questions. Oh, there's a question. How are you doing, Ben? Well, in case you can't tell, I'm in a good mood. Usually am. There's a good question. What's up for Founders Weekend? Looks like August Dunning is coming for that. You may want to go to observerranch.com. Check out the events page. Founders Weekend. Looks like August is coming. That's going to be fun. He and I will probably do a couple of different things for the disaster cycle. And of course, he's going to be chatting on bio health as well, fasting, other things we can do to increase our longevity, increase our likelihood that our bodies are going to survive what's coming. So that's fantastic. He says, you have a heck of a nice view out that window. Yeah, you should see some of the back private areas on the ranch. They're absolutely incredible. Yay, August Dunning was amazing. Isn't he, Grand? Isn't he? As Grand moves up into third place there on the top fans chart. I'm not even going to front. This is so cool. I'm even going to use like brand new teenage kid language here. Grand with the Riz jumping up, no cap to number 3. I love this new YouTube thing. This is probably the only new thing YouTube has rolled out in the last decade that I think is really cool. This is awesome. This is awesome. Anywhere east of the Rockies above 6,000 feet? That's a good question. I'm not exactly sure. This message brought to you by the American Cattlemen's Association. Oh, I like that. Absolutely. Everyone should be eating more beef. Would the land masses ever come together? This is Michelle Tyler again. Would the land masses ever come together like Pangea during the pole flip? I would say probably not, but there's so many aspects of this. And if this is missed by some people, I get it, because there are so many aspects I can absolutely predict and describe. But for every one of those, there's probably one or two other things in the minutia, the nuance, it's tangentially related area, category. I just don't know. Like, I'm pretty sure the East African Rift is going to split. I'm pretty sure the center of the United States is going to depress, and there's going to be a waterway cutting what was the United States in half. Other than that, I don't know what land is going up, what land is going down, what land is going to go this way, this way. I can just guess where the tsunamis are going to go and that the crust will remain mostly stable. Now, here is something interesting. Some of those old maps that really may be trying to describe the pre-Noah event, pre-Tianqi excursion 6,000 years ago, they do still show a relatively open Atlantic with the continents, Antarctica, Africa, the Americas, still relatively separated. So I would say that's probably the most we could hope for in terms of a guess on that. Good question, though, Michelle. Can we see your freshly washed feet? No, and they are not freshly washed. They will not be freshly washed until I take a shower right before I go to bed. So be fresh when you get into the sheets, right? Will the galactic dust cloud remain relatively steady, or can we expect surges that might push things faster? That's a fair question. I would say that if there were, and I don't know if surge is the right word. I hope you're okay with me changing that phrasing. If there are overdensity regions, I would like to think we would be able to see that. But the caveat to that is I would like to think we would be able to see the dust as it is now. The caveat to that is modern astronomy hasn't existed for long enough to tell what it looked like before the current sheet arrived, which most of you know, I believe, is in the 1850s. So Alaskan Care, that is a very good question, but I can't say that I could give you a definitive answer. Wow, I hope we don't have too many of these I don't knows here. Really I feel them in the pit of my soul, like some sort of glorious failure. Helen, I'm kidding. Helen, thank you for that teal pear. I love it. He's celebrating. We should all be celebrating. Gabrielle or Gabrielle, whichever one you prefer, love it. And thank you for the teal pear. Appreciate it. Jeff asks, so do you think the excursions that were minor, the galactic current sheet wasn't as powerful, both magnetically and dust? So here's the thing. Every 12,000 year cycle, the big one, where we get the Earth tilting and we get the solar micronova, that's only on the 12,000 year cycles. That's when we get hit by the current sheet. The 6,000 year event is something else entirely, but it's still partially driven by the galactic current sheet. So let's say, we've got this galactic current sheet and, here's one of the sine waves, right? We get hit, there's a 12,000 year event. When we get hit again, it'll be another 12,000 year event. But right here in the middle, we are directly in between. It's when we are furthest away. It's when the galactic magnetic field actually hits its strongest point. Because don't forget, when we actually cross, we're switching from north to south or south to north, but we have to cross the zero line. It's in the middle where we are exposed to the strongest magnetic field. So don't forget, when we're talking about a magnetic system, there are 2 points that are always most important: peak magnetic force and then magnetic reversal. Those happen opposite of one another. Now, it just so happens that not only are we at that 6,000 mark in between subjected to the strongest galactic magnetic fields, the sun's X1000 super flare is on the 6,000-year cycle. That is enough to, and by the way, for those of you who remember my interview with Robert Schoch from about 10, 11, maybe even 12 years ago, shit, I don't know. It was a while ago. This was after he and I had spent an ungodly amount of time going over the science about this stuff. And you might remember that was where he first started suggesting that the last ice age may have ended in a matter of hours, like in one day, due to the extreme melting of that X1000 super flare. We have my son, Noah, coming into the room. How can I help you, my son? I am live on the internet right now. I am live doing a show right now. Come say hi. We've already stopped. We've already gotten interrupted. Say hello. Come say hello.
Hi.
That's Noah.
Love you, Dad.
I love you too, big guy. What, do you need something? I know your mommy's out there. I know Barb's out there.
I don't know. It's just like, you know where Kira is?
I don't have a clue where your sister is, man. She's not in here. Nobody's come in here. You're the only person that's come in here. Tell you what, go find her. I love you. Leave me alone.
Love you.
Love you, buddy. All right, yeah, one more hug. All right, buddy. How's baby Adam doing?
Good.
Good?
Watching TV.
Cool. Love you, man.
Love you.
Admit it. That was cute. So yeah, on the 6,000-year event, we probably get the solar super flare. It causes a massive proton storm, rapid melting of the polar ice, Heinrich event. I hope that sort of helps clarify the half cycle event of 6,000 years and then the full event of 12,000 years when we actually get hit by the current sheet. And I hope that that helps. And for those of you who have been around long enough to remember my proof of how the solar polar magnetic fields are what trigger the biggest earthquakes in the world, it happens at 2 separate times. It happens when the solar polar magnetic fields are reversing and when they are peaking in strength. And those things ham and egg opposite one another. Why would it be any different with the galactic current sheet? Oh, and now we have my dog. Come say hi. Come quickly. I'm live on the internet. You're going to have to say hi real quick. This is Kira.
Hi. I love my marshmallows.
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 Did you eat dinner?
I'm going to finish it.
Oh, go finish it. I love you. Let me do my show. Go
Okay.
away. Thank you, sweetheart. All we need is baby Adam to traipse in here now, huh? How about that? All right. Where the hell was I? Good Lord. I missed a lot. All right. We're going to try to blast through this quickly. St. Miles, thank you for that teal pair. Appreciate it. Wes Decker, it is a fantastic view, and I wish you well as well. Undercover Bird, thank you for that teal pair. That's fantastic. Born Again Farm Girl, look at that teal pair. My goodness, I like that one. He looks shy, though. Mark Alaska says, hi, Ben. I haven't worked out practicality yet, but would deionized water help protect sensitive metals or other items during the big event? Nowhere near as good as plastic and rubber. And I hope you don't mean like submerging the thing in water, because like the moment you put anything metal in water, oxidation begins, the ions start, and then there's no more deionized water. Interesting idea though. Barry says, need disaster cycle, submarine, observer ranch, Navy. I'll think about it. Mika. I don't know if that's Mika or Micah Vanderberg, but thank you. Hello from Taiwan. How would my chances of survival be in the mountains of Taiwan? relatively flat, 700 meters above sea level. It's also away from fault lines. I'll say this, that's a little lower than I would like, a little closer to the ocean than I would like, frankly, a little close to China for the time being, compared to what I would like. The big question is that mountain a volcano? And I don't care if it's active, dormant, extinct. I would say that's your biggest question. And if you do live in Taiwan, one thing I know is you're probably a pretty resourceful individual. Just in case, have something that floats in case you have to float away. But other than that, I would say try to figure out if that mountain is a volcano or not. People are going to survive all over the world in different places, many different kinds of ways. Minnie says, send a lot of folks to you here. Well, I appreciate that. Hopefully I'm not mean to too many of them. Gran says hi to Noah. That's wonderful. Davo9 says hi to Noah. You can tell I'm catching up here. Helen says, is the Next End of the World book the same as the Earth Disaster Cycle book? So no, the last one that we put out, all right, so you're asking about the previous two books. So The Next End of the World came out about 7 or 8 years ago. And that one was my first crack at describing the disaster cycle. I think I did a pretty good job. There's been a lot of development since then. The Earth Disaster Cycle book was basically the layman's version. Like, you got somebody who doesn't like reading. You got a friend who's a little dumb. You got a friend who won't look at anything unless there's a ton of pictures. If they literally can't hold focus for more than one page to understand one concept, that's the book for them. What we're pre-ordering right now is my next textbook. But it's basically Weatherman's Guide to the Sun 4. I just changed the title. It's everything about space weather. A complete, YouTube, don't put me on this, a complete and thorough debunking of global warming propaganda, the real cause of climate change, the sun, and then how the sun impacts earthquakes, how the sun impacts volcanoes, how the sun impacts human health, and then everything about the Earth disaster cycle, the past, the now, what to expect, the solar micronova, the Earth turning over, the evidence for it, how the great waves are going to go. Everything. I hope that answers your question. And it's good to see you, Helen. Katie Light, thank you again for that teal pair. Appreciate that. Did I miss a bunch here? Oh, I did miss a bunch. My daughter is also named Kira, same age. Oh, that's cute. Mine does not have the E in her name. It's just Kira. Is she 10 as well? Because that would be awesome. Bring her to the ranch. Have them hang out. Kira loves making friends here at the ranch. So does Noah, but Kira's nicer. Possible to build an above-ground structure that can withstand the Nova shift, or should budget be entirely directed toward underground bunker and after shift rebuild? That's an interesting question. If you build with stone, I think the world around us is pretty good evidence that stone can survive. It's just the hardest thing to build with, especially if you don't have a million-hand slave army to do it for you. But yes, it is very possible for an above-ground structure to withstand the Nova and shift. You just better make her strong. Gabrielle, as a parent, how much do your kids know about what's coming? Virtually nothing. What, if anything, have you shared with them at their level? I really don't share much. My daughter has dreams about the black sun, and she's overheard enough that she has some questions. But in general, I don't cram it down their throats. I don't want to scare them. I want them living as much of their lives as possible. I want them going to school and learning things. I want them interacting. I'm hoping that we do march to the 2040s. I think it would be, and I'm sorry if there's other dads who can't understand this, I would love for my daughter to be asked out to homecoming and to get to go to a homecoming dance. I would love for my son to at least get to kiss a girl before the entire thing goes to shit like that. The training that I put them through here at the ranch and the skill building, I like the fact that they see that as fun outdoor playtime and not, hey, we're training for the end of the world kind of stuff. Once Kira gets into her mid-teens, I'm going to have to consider being a bit more open and honest about some of these things. But until then, I'm going to try not to be. Try not to be. Looked like Kira was going to come back in here for a moment. But she's got other people in tow that I don't recognize. Okay. I may have to go be founder of the ranch here in a minute. Pre-order the book. Can't wait to read it. Thanks for your work. You are very welcome, Miss Hickson. Golly. Thank you for that. Appreciate the support. Uh-oh, scrolled too far. And we're back. Will anything happen to the moon's orbit around the Earth during the pole shift? So I don't know. I don't have a strong opinion on this at all. What I will say is, if you care about other people's opinion, there was a man named Ed Leedskalnin. He built the Coral Castle in Florida. The big thing is nobody knows how he did it. All we know is he had some secret materials and a secret black box that mysteriously disappeared when he died. In one of his writings, he says that during the magnetic pole shift, the orbit of the moon halves its distance. So it comes down halfway and then goes back out and returns to that orbit. If that is what happens, which again, I'm not advocating for or against, but if that happens, well, there's your great tsunamis right there. You don't even need the world to turn over. You bring the moon halfway closer and tsunamis are going to ride over the continents. Fair question, though. Undercover Bird says, I'm building an earth bag home. Nice. Will the barbed wire be a problem? Maybe. Is it? I'm trying to remember. If you're doing the version where the barbed wire is in direct contact with flammable material, that is something to consider. Of course, at the end of the day, it all boils down to how much of it you use, the configuration, how big is it, what's your magnetic latitude, what part of the Earth is taking the biggest pounding, how strong are the geomagnetically induced currents, all of which are unknowable at this point. But I would say, see if the barbed wire is touching some of the finer flammable material, which is what you'd be worried about. Buy a cargo ship to survive, but where to park it? If you can pull it off, awesome. But where do you park it? And do you have any idea how much those things cost to float around? I mean, you ready for a $250,000 fuel bill just to fill it up? But no, look, I do know several people who plan on timing it so that they're by their yacht or their big boat and they're just heading out to the water in hopes of trying to come back in at some point after the waves have stopped. I'm willing to bet at least one person survives this disaster that way, and probably a lot of people will survive the disaster that way. With as much evidence as there is of civilizations somewhat surviving and moving forward into the next stage, I am certain people just floated away and made it before. I'm certain that's happened in every cycle. Why not this one? Might want to have some food on the boat, though. Love the live streams. Can't wait to come see the ranch in person. Jeff, that is the right attitude. Please come to the ranch. It's wonderful. I like shaking your hands. I love meeting you. As everyone says who gets a chance, somebody just said the other day, a couple people just showed up and got literally 2-3 hours hanging out with me talking about stuff. Their main thing was, wow, you are nothing like how you are on the live streams. Usually, I'm being much nicer today. But no, I'm generally not that salty character. I'm generally Callie asked, how do you know he hasn't kissed a girl already? That's a throwback to my comment about Noah. I don't know that for a fact, and you shut your ignorant mouth. He is 8. Okay? Allow my perceptions of innocence to just cloud rationality. Thank you. What economically practical material would you recommend for a bunker? Any prefab companies you recommend? There are no prefab companies I recommend, but I like aircrete and hempcrete. Solid. And to the best of your ability, try to avoid metal rebar within concrete. That's asking to get hit with the induction. And also, when you're building your bunker, have the underground portions of the walls slightly angled out. Believe it or not, it's not likely the roof that's going to cave in. It's the walls that are going to push in like this. But if they're angled out, that force that comes in like this, it's actually a force like this. Do we remember physics? Do we? Good. Because if you do, that means that most of the force will be trying to just push your bunker up out of the ground. It's not going to do that, but that's a better use of that force than trying to push the walls in onto your children. Put it that way. Biggest problem with metal and shielding is going to be the eddy currents. Been thinking of mitigation options for it. Better idea is just to avoid metal. My son Joseph is excited to get your book. Thank you. You're very welcome, Undercover Bird. By the way, you are in first place right now in the top fans, Undercover Bird. Gran in number 2, Helen at number 3. Jeff Grimes right behind him in number 4. Although I will have to say at this point, Undercover Bird and Gran are kind of running away with this one. Tony, what's up? Our resident astrophotographer. Let's ask Aircrete Harry to do some dome building classes. I don't see why not. I think that would be fantastic. He and I have talked about it a little bit. We are just trying to get the timing worked out. Matter of fact, Kat actually asked me today, so I'll have to hit him up. Or Aircrete Harry, if you're watching, hit me up, please. In terms of larger flares, asks Daniel, X100 or larger, does that require larger sunspots? Probably. Or can extreme flares come from, say, sunspots the size of an incoming northern group now? I would say that, all right, so look, you take a look at May 2024, G5 storm. You take a look at September 2017, biggest solar storm of last cycle. You look back to the sunspots in November and October 2003. They're massive, massive sunspots. Now, do they have to be bigger than those? I don't know. Probably not. But they would have to be bigger than your run-of-the-mill sunspot. While magnetic complexity is always the determining factor in whether or not a sunspot group is going to make a significant flare, the size of the sunspot does have a correlation to what the maximum flare potential of that active region could be. I hope that makes sense. Helen asks, will land masses move further apart? That's kind of like the other Pangea question. I really don't know. It's certainly possible. Again, we have the old maps that show the Atlantic Ocean virtually like it is now and probably describing a time period prior. So that's tough. It's tough. Hi, Ricky. I see him on my screen. I know you can see him too. Have any of you guys met Ricky? He's a fun dude. Pre-ordered the new book, but just noticed it is a one-time print. Ordering a second now to gift. Yeah. I'm not going to say it's impossible that at some point next year or 2 years from now we might not order some more. But in general, we're kind of doing one shot here. If you want this new book, my life's work in the Compendium Magnifica, I would not wait. I would not wait. Good on you, Trohammer, for noticing that. I don't think a lot of people noticed that. Wondered if Zuck's Hawaii digs are a misdirection and his real place is somewhere else. No, that's his real place because somebody told him only half the story. You remember Great Gatsby, right? Old money versus new money. Well, the old money wants to use the new money. They know they can't keep him completely in the dark either. But you think they want Zuckerberg around? You think old money wants Mark Zuckerberg around? No. They told him part of the story. And if they had told him the entire story, he would not be building in Hawaii. And same goes for all of those elites building in New Zealand. Yeah, they're not top of the food chain either. Somebody told them half the story. That's my best answer for that, Gran. I hope it's acceptable. I can sell tickets to pay for the cargo ship. I suppose you could, Barry. Best of luck with that. Gabrielle says, your answer hits close to home. Thank you. My daughter's only 5. That's Adam's age. He hasn't come in to interrupt the show yet, but yeah, my little dude's same age. Doesn't need to be worried. I have the same hopes that she experiences life as we know it for as long as possible. And how could we not want that for our kids? Right? Like, okay, like I don't just like plop my kids down in front of screens all day, but do I let my kids watch a movie? Do I let them play on a tablet sometimes? Yeah, I do. I want them to enjoy life before we have to figure out how to enjoy anything anymore. Jeff, appreciate that support, man. Doomsday Benny. Interesting username. I have metal implants in my ankles from an old injury. How would that hold up when this all goes down? It could be brutal. You could have fire and lightning bolts coming out of your ankle, or you could be fine. What I can tell you is Earth's magnetic field is not our last line of defense. Our body magnetic field is the last line of defense. It's not exactly like what you read on the Heart Math website, and it's not exactly like the chakras and the aura, but it's something damn close to that. It's been measured. It's real. How do you strengthen it or stop weakening it? Stop alcohol, stop drugs, stop putting processed crap food in your body. Eat as good as you possibly can. Physical and psychological strength and health matter as well. They have shown that, you know, in all of the ways that physical health, lifting weights, running, etc., is good for your body, it's good for all parts of your body, including energetically. Psychologically, I'm just going to leave this one to you and the internet. Take a look at your life. Figure out the most harmful behaviors that you have. I promise those come from some kind of insecurity that you have. And those insecurities were born of trauma in your past. Follow those breadcrumbs I just laid out there and heal the trauma. Now, I'm not going to go through all of that right now. We are going to do that at the experience in October here at the ranch, by the way. But in general, do that. Try to stay positive as well. I know that there's a lot to make you nervous and there's a lot to be angry about, but try to stay positive. That does help. Ben, looking centered and healthy. I appreciate that, Maggie. We will have a plan to visit the ranch. Thank you, Gabrielle. Can't wait to see you. Bring the little one. They can play with Adam. Why is CSERT always red lately? The electron flux, question mark. You know, I kind of stopped paying attention to CSERT when we're not in the middle of a major event, but I'll take a look at it. If it's been high for a couple of days, it's almost certainly the electron flux, which would be a post-coronal hole amplification of the Van Allen belts, and that happens pretty much every time after a coronal hole stream, and we just got out of one. Barry says, we'll charge people $100,000 to load cargo in the bunker. Well, Barry, it seems that you're really thinking this through. You seem committed. I wish you the best of luck. Had some catch up to do. I love the competition. Yeah, Grimes. Let's see. How are our top fans doing? Oh, Jeff Grimes is in number 1. Wow. Jeff Grimes at number 1, Undercover Bird number 2, and Grand at number 3 with Helen back down there at 4. This like top fans thing is so cool. I'm gonna like love this. Okay, that's a lot. Denver sucks. Hope to visit very soon. The 7.3 in Alaska eye-opener. Absolutely. How cool would it be if the ETs would come down and help us before the shit hits the fan? That would be awesome, provided that they disable the militaries around the world, because they will try to stop them. Susie Rose Finley, our resident Viking, says, Leah and I will be at the ranch on Friday. Looking forward to the cooler Colorado weather. Live like a Viking. Right on. Angela Bloom would love to invest in the ranch. I know you would have protection, but does that nearby prison actively have inmates you know of? Yeah, the whole thing is full, but I'm not worried about them. What do you think's going to happen? Do you think that the guards are just going to come let all the prisoners out at some point? Do you know what happens at a prison if they lose electrical power? Auto lockdown. And the most likely scenario, given the fact that it's people like El Chapo down there, most likely scenario is some guard's going to go cell to cell, pop, pop, pop. I have zero fear of those prisons, several miles that way. I saw your repost on the JPL data showing the mantle torquing against the crust. Could you explain it a little, like crust displacement for dummies? That's not exactly what that is. Basically, in addition to the stuff I talk about, there is a natural wobble to the Earth as it's rotating. It's not something you can feel. It's not something you can see in terms of where the sun is in the sky, but it's detectable by our satellites, and it's related to true polar wander. We're having a little bit of an uptick in the wobble and wander right now. We've had them before. We are not going to hit the tipping point, or what my best guess is the tipping point on this round, but year on, around this same time next year, I'm going to be paying close attention to see if we're coming close to having a similar type of anomaly. I think this is related to the Earth speeding up its rotation, kind of like, you do it a little too fast, you might lose your balance kind of thing. I wouldn't expect it to go off the rails, but it's almost certainly related to the Earth speeding up, which is related to the acceleration of Earth's magnetic pole shift as well. I hope that helps. What's the best way to store electronics during a solar storm? Don't. There's no point. If it's going to be bad enough that you would need to store the electronics, life with electronics is over. I am not preparing to store a single electronic item. It's back to the Stone Age, because that's the future eventually anyway. Could you maybe store something safely in plastic or rubber and have a tiny bit of use for it for a little bit? Maybe. I wouldn't put too much thought or effort or concern into it, though. Side note, gold and silver legal tender legislation here in Missouri was signed by the governor. I think that there's going to be a lot of places that do something similar. You may want to have some gold and silver, by the way. And by the way, the documentary on all this stuff we're talking about is sponsored by goldobservers.com. They are suspicious observers like you. They were long before the documentary came into play. They've been watching for a while. Not only is gold and silver useful now, as things start to break down and we go into a barter scenario, most people aren't going to know how bad it's going to get. You will be able to get unfathomable value for your gold and silver, because they're not going to have any idea what it's going to be worth 10 years from now, which is zero. Unless you're an observer, in which case the gold and silver is not worth zero, because gold is very easy to work with. It is the perfect electromagnetic radiation reflector, and silver releases antimicrobial ions upon contact with human blood, which means it can help protect against infection, which, if you know anything about nature and living in the natural world, that's one of the largest killers. So regardless of what stage of the disaster we're talking about, from now till the next stage of Earth, gold and silver are very useful. I recommend goldobservers.com. Anyway, good on Missouri for signing that into law. The globally matching age gradients of the ocean floor indicate simultaneous breakup of the continents, expansion away from each other. Earth grows and it shrinks. It breathes. But in general, you're not wrong. Do you have a good place to send mail, P.O. Box, etc.? Just send it to Observer Ranch. They'll get it to me. Don't send anything gross. Okay. Can you use ultra-thin gold to cover cars and or roofs and then poly over them instead of 12 inches of... So here's the thing. The amount of gold that would take is going to cost more than almost anything else you would want to try. And blocking electromagnetic radiation is not the same as protecting against the electric currents of geomagnetic induction. Gold will block radiation. It is conductive, and it will attract and let the current flow through it. Gold could be made into wiring if you wanted to use gold that way. So it's kind of like you could put 2 feet of lead over top of you and be pretty guaranteed that no cosmic rays are going to bombard you. The moment we get that induction current, it's surging right through your house. You protect from one thing, make yourself more vulnerable to another. I hope that helps. Brandon says, first time catching you live. Thank you. I am 27 from the UK, got a 2-year-old and a missus. Any reason why you wouldn't uproot to Colorado? No, do not stay in the UK. I can't sit here and tell you everybody in the UK is going to die. But there's a really good chance everybody in the UK is going to die when this happens. They keep wanting to come in, and then they open the door halfway, and I'm going to have to go be a dad soon. All right, let me get through these last super chats. Helen says, if Australia is on the ring of fire, is it likely volcanoes will reactivate? Yeah, Australia and New Zealand are terrifying. It's possible nobody will survive there either. Surviving more important than YouTube? Definitely more important than YouTube, Undercover Bird. Coffee more important, yes. And coffee will be an excellent barter item, by the way, probably as good as gold or silver. And by the way, so will cigarettes and alcohol and weed and all the other stuff that people are going to be jittering and won't be able to live without. Women, do you know what men can't live without? How do you make yourself valuable? Oh, good God, I just told all women to be whores when the sun turns red. That's fantastic. Just ignore that shit I just said. Can we cut that? Can we cut it? There's nobody over there that I'm looking at. Can we cut that out? No, it's live. They've already seen it. Okay. How far south do you expect the Arctic Ocean slosh back to reach? Stuck north of the border. Thanks for all you do. That's a tough call. I can tell you that the Hudson Bay will probably dump into the Great Lakes. I don't know if that's helpful or not, but I also don't know much about the elevation of far northern Canada. See all that happening behind me? What the hell are you? I don't know who some of these people are. They're all just hanging out. Oh, there's Kira. All right, well, I'm going to probably have to go and check on them very soon. Ooh, Gabrielle says you watch Traveling Salesman. Good movie. Recommended to your math teacher, younger brother. Oh, your math teacher, younger brother. That's awesome. I'll come out with some more recommendations at some point. If you build a gasifier that turns wood into hydrogen gas and shield a generator, you can produce unlimited electricity. Maybe, but do you know what a generator is? Loud. Better hope nobody hears it or they're going to be and coming for what you got. And they'll probably wait till you're asleep to do it. I don't recommend that. I don't recommend planning for electricity. I cannot be any clearer about this. It's going to be a bad idea. And by the way, there's no way to shield a generator from this. Another point, by the way. I teach my kids the two most valuable things are seeds and water. I love that, Undercover Bird. That's fantastic. Helen says, Solar Killshot Network doesn't seem to have Aussies. How do I go about connecting to other Aussies? I have no idea if they're not doing it through there, to be honest with you. How do you use silver as medicine? If you're bleeding, put it on the cut. It will release antimicrobial ions, an antiseptic, right into the wound. Just shove it right on there. It's that simple. Ben and Undercover Bird, I'm growing a coffee orchard, about 30 trees right now. Dang. All right, Susie, bring me some coffee, all right? Why not? Ben, please check the jet streams and airspeed. Why? Why? Did somebody tell you they were off the charts? Because they're not. All right, everybody stop doing the super chat thing, or else I'm never going to get out of here. Luckily, sowing will be required. Yes, Gran, it will. Would the increasing cracks in Earth's crust absorb some of the incoming deluge of water? Probably not. I mean, that's kind of like if you take your finger in the sand and you draw a little trench, how much does that stop the wave from reaching your toes? It really doesn't, does it? Helen, you are very welcome, and thank you for that teal pear. Davo, prolong the disaster. Women, remember Ben about a year ago? Yes. You can stop the pole shift all on your own. Is helical wire shielding an option when it comes to protecting dwellings and sensitive equipment from solar energy, similar to how Apollo shielded from the Van Allen belt radiation? Probably not, because you don't have an energy source to power it up. You would need that. And you would need to know the orientation of it. So basically, if you knew for certain which of the four directions the geomagnetic current was going to hit you, maybe. Otherwise, you're just making your house more flammable. Tone. Did anybody see the show I did with Tone a couple days ago? That was in my living room, by the way. Had a great time at the ranch last week. Looking forward to coming back. Tone, you are always welcome. And your friends. Your friends were really nice, too. Undercover Bird says, we grow food and water in mason jars, fresh greens and tomatoes. Sounds fantastic, Undercover Bird. By the way, here at the very end, you are still in first place. I'm in the middle of Alberta. Could that be safe from Arctic sloshback? Yes, it could. Would I maybe have to retreat to the Rockies? Maybe. The closer you are to the Rockies, the better, but I do like Alberta. Alberta would probably be the choice province in Canada. Is it best if you are nestled up against the Rockies? Yes. Does that mean you're screwed in Edmonton or Calgary? No. Alberta is probably the best province in Canada. I can't believe I've never actually come out and said that before. But yeah, Alberta is the place. If you refuse to leave the 51st state, and if that bothers you, go off, I don't care. If you refuse to leave the 51st state, consider Alberta. Okay? As far away from Mark Carney as you can get. Has there ever been a time in Earth's history when the magnetic poles accelerated at this current rate but didn't end up flipping? No, we don't have any record of that. We have several instances of them accelerating to this point and even faster, but only during pole shift.
I have mixed emotions about what I'm looking at right now.
Cat is out there weeding. Manual labor for the tiny Vietnamese girl. It's like part of me feels some kind of way, and then part of me kind of doesn't. Don't know who that is either. Pay attention to past 7 days. The Vulcan polls 2030. I don't know what that means, Wookie, but it looks nice. Jeff Grimes says, hey, Tone. All right, guys, we're going to call it there because it's been just about an hour. Let's see here. Undercover Bird wins the day. Jeff Grimes in second. Tone Vase in third. I'm going to take a screenshot of this. We'll get the top 10 in there. And I promise I will think of something cool to do for the leaderboard moving forward. Guys, I will see you in the morning for the daily show. Thanks for being here this evening. And be safe, everyone.